Wow. Well, thank you to Scott and to all of our panelists on this panel and our panelists throughout today. The full conversation today, I think we've heard a lot of passion. We have heard fire from many of our speakers today and a lot of enthusiasm. I think back to the panel this morning and hearing from our students and all of the great sacrifices that they're making in order to make college a reality for themselves. And then think about Dr. Sorrell's comments as he was saying they shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to make this level of sacrifice in order to get a college education, especially low-income students and students of color who are facing so many barriers to that education. So I am definitely going to leave today feeling energized from the conversations today with our students and with our experts, energized to go find ways to make sure that higher education can be the greatest engine and vehicle for racial and socioeconomic justice as it possibly can be. And that means making systemic and structural changes to our system. And it's been really helpful to hear from all of you today about ways that we can do that and ways to really amp us all up to do that. We are not finished, though. We have one more illustrious speaker joining the conversation who will bring it home for us and leave us with additional energy as we leave the conversation. I am pleased to introduce Rob Anderson, the president of the State Higher Education Executive Officers Association, or SHEO. He is an expert in higher education policy, especially around issues of college affordability, and he's been a leader in the field of higher education through a number of different states. He has been in leadership positions in both the University System of Georgia, the West Virginia Higher Education Policy Commission, and the Tennessee Higher Education Commission. And most importantly, he is IHEP's board chair and has the distinguished role of leading us as IHEP through the work that we do. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Rob to close out our discussion today.
Thank you, Mamie, and what a day it has been. It was a true honor to be here. I live in Colorado. That's where I hang my hat at night, and it's interesting flying in last night to the humidity and call home this morning, and there's 4 inches of fresh snow on the ground, so quite a difference between the two. But I've been inspired being here today. I've been challenged. I've been reminded of what, when I got into this business, I was called to do and what we're all called to do. First, I'd like to follow up on Michelle's comments earlier and thanking Lumina Foundation for their support of this work. Is there anybody remaining from Lumina? I think Danette had to hit the road. Maybe Wayne did as well. But both of them to be here, to be on the program. It's an organization that not only talks the talk, but they walk the walk, and their funding of this important work is greatly appreciated. They work behind the scenes and share their expertise. They support this critical work. And this weekend, appropriately enough, I saw a great tweet from Jamie Merisotis, the president of Lumina, who was also president of IHEP, that I think really encapsulates what they have added for us. Jamie said, in today's environment where society is more divided than ever, philanthropy unites with a purpose to serve the common good. And we thank Lumina for helping us serve this common good through their investment in this work. And I also want to follow up on what Mamie said and thank all of our panelists today. You're wonderful, bringing the issues and potential solutions to light. Listening to the discussion has given me ample framing of some very critical issues that I'll take back to my staff and to my membership as well. And you've challenged us all, and thank you for that. I said at the beginning of my comments that I've been inspired. I've been inspired by the voices that we have heard today, by the truth that has been spoken to both the status quo and to authority, challenging it in appropriate ways. And I've been particularly inspired by the courage of the students who have joined us here today. So if you're a student who was on a panel or you're attending today, could you please stand and be recognized? Yeah, or a recent graduate, yes, absolutely. We thank all of you for joining us. I appreciate your determination, your passion, and your willingness to use this experience to educate us all. You must be a voice at this table. We often speak of you as future leaders when the truth is you are leading right now, and thank you for being here. While as a part of this discussion, there's been a clear acknowledgement of the opportunity that the current financial aid system has provided, we have also been given this firsthand glimpse at all that so many students must overcome in an effort to further their education. Your strength and your perseverance are traits that I will take home with me today. It has rekindled something within me and reminded me that student voices should and must be at the center of our conversations regarding higher education policy and equity. Second, I stated that I've learned. What have I learned? I've learned to better contextualize potential policy solutions and their ramifications on the lives of actual students. It's easy to fall into a fallacy of working with a national group, of thinking of policy solutions in an abstract manner as if we're dealing with widgets. And if I pull a lever or add a process, the system will become more efficient. The reality is we don't educate and graduate summary statistics. We come alongside students to meet them where they are. We're called to learn where the current structures are failing, both academically and in regard to today's conversation financially. We're to advocate for and make the necessary changes so that we can better serve all of our students. I currently work at the State Higher Education Executive Officers Association, and we regularly bring state teams together for conversations around a variety of policy issues. And we usually end our convenings with me asking in some form or fashion, what have you learned and how will it impact your life when you get back home? And that's what I want to leave you with here today. What have you learned and how will this knowledge impact your actions when you return home? I ask that you please carefully consider what you can do to advance policies that address college affordability challenges faced by today's students. It's not enough to give an amen from the choir. We as a people are called to action. We're called to effectuate change. How will you be a change agent? I'm also fortunate here to work with the good staff at Lumina. Jose Luis, who was here and just presented, a fellow board member, and we're so appreciative of Michelle and the whole team and all that you do. So if you work for IHEP, could you please stand so we can acknowledge you and thank you for today's convening? A lot of our staff is here today. Thank you so much. Ellie and Amanda were thanked for their hard work on this, as well as Nio, and also Catherine did a great deal when it came to communication and disseminating those messages, so thank you so much. So just as we finish, a few things that IHEP is working on right now. This summer, they'll be releasing a report that examines affordability at our nation's public flagship institutions, using net price estimates for students from different socioeconomic backgrounds. And as you might realize, there are enormous affordability gaps when it comes to the wealthiest students and everyone else. So look for that report this summer. We also continue with our Degrees When Due work, and IHEP is currently accepting applications for the second cohort of Degrees When Due schools, which will be announced midsummer. We're also engaged in research within higher education and prison programs and promoting successful reentry and post-release outcomes among incarcerated students. And as you might have heard this week, we're heavily involved with a new project involving the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to convene the Commission on the Value of Post-Secondary Education. And by mid-2020, the Commission will propose a definition of college value to guide institutional improvement efforts, create a measurement framework, and also issue a set of recommendations forward. And IHEP will be at the center of all this work. While there's much to be done, don't be overwhelmed, but be heartened by the great work and the great research that is taking place. Let's lift our voices and demand better structures and adequate resources for all of our students. The reality is that there's no better investment for our nation to take than in our students, than in our future workforce, than in fulfilling the dreams of all those who want something better for their lives. I look forward to working alongside you to ensure that that we have a better and more just future moving forward. And so once again, thank you very much for your attendance and participation, and I wish you safe travels going home. Thank you so much.